What's going on, everybody? I hope this video finds you well. It is the first official video or show or podcast, whatever you want to call it. We'll go with all the above, following the intro, and hoping to make a good first show out of the gate, so to speak. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to talk about two topics, and did some thinking about how to come up with topics and stuff. I think we're going to keep it pretty simple, starting off with something old and something new. And this will probably be the format for the next few episodes. Not getting married or anything, but I think it'll work out just fine. But you can let me know. Starting off with something old, we're going to talk about the people that say the assassination attempt on Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania was an inside job. Anyone that says that's a conspiracy theory. We're going to talk about that and prove that wrong without proving that it was, in fact, an inside job. Whoa, how are we going to do that? I'm so confused. I'm confused too. But we'll figure it out, right? So, what is it? What is it? How can it not be a conspiracy and still be not true? Well, for one, a conspiracy theory and just has to be too far-fetched, while something not being true and not a conspiracy theory can be something that can be believed because of reasonable means of logic. Now, doesn't mean it's true, but doesn't mean it's a conspiracy. You see, we don't have to have the handshake agreement, anybody telling him to do it will look the other way, or even paying him to make the assassination attempt. We don't have to have any of that, okay, for it to be an inside job. All we have to have is someone who sees the problem and is willing to look the other way. After all, why was Trump allowed to take stage when Secret Service and police involved knew there was a threat in the area? It's a good question. I'd definitely like an answer. But the fact that that's all it takes makes it pretty reasonable to think it was an inside job. But you look at the other things, what they were willing to do to keep this man in office. Everything else failed. Everything else they tried to do to keep this man out of office failed. 2 impeachments. Day in, day out. Threat to democracy. Hitler. Day in, day out. Making him look like a racist. Making him look like a bigot. Just the endless things they did, starting with the Russian collusion, which Mueller went before Congress and even said, hey, we couldn't find the evidence of that. Okay? Either you find the evidence and he's guilty, or you don't and he's innocent. One of the two. Okay? Now, for those that's going to sit there and say, well, just because they couldn't find the evidence doesn't mean, yeah, I know. But in more cases where you're in the position of the President of the United States and all eyes are on you, and you have a digging media, you have digging FBI and everything, I'm pretty sure if there was a shred of evidence to support being a Russian agent, it would come to light. All right? After all, you did get 2 impeachments based on opinion. After all, you did get a judge to make him pay over $400 million for defrauding a bank that even the bank said was not defrauded. You see where I'm going? You did get 34 felonies when a judge told a jury to don't have to believe he's guilty of one crime or know the crime. But if you believe you're guilty of something, you can go ahead and find him guilty. I mean, I probably minced the words a little bit there, but you don't tell a jury that. That would never work in today's society with me or you going before the grand jury. If we had a good enough lawyer, they would throw that out in a heartbeat. You want to talk about constitutional rights. But hey, it didn't apply when it was President Trump. President or candidate Trump, depending on how you want to respect that man. Okay? Because once you're a president, you're always called president. Those of you that didn't want to call him president because he wasn't in office, and some of y'all never will, even when he's in office. So it doesn't matter, does it? Anyway, I'm off topic here. Moving on. So you don't have to have an agreement, an arrangement. All you have to have is someone who knew the threat was in the area and looked the other way. That makes it an inside job. Not saying that's what happened, but when you hear the reports about them knowing the threat was in the area and Trump was allowed to take stage, you have to ask yourself why. And we don't have those kind of answers. So it's reasonable to think that it was an inside job. Doesn't mean it's true, but it's definitely not a conspiracy theory. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with receipts saying, yep, that's what happened, inside job. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just going with fair thinking right now, saying there's not enough evidence to say it wasn't, and there's not enough evidence to say it was. So there's something to think about. Now, what's going on currently that we can talk about? Tariffs. Let's talk about tariffs. More so, Trump's tariffs and how that is so bad, and anyone who's saying to you, the tariffs are just going to hurt the American people. Well, here's a response to give them. So let me get this straight. Trump decided to punish the American people to place tariffs on Canada. Canada, in response to those tariffs, decided to punish the people of Canada by placing tariffs on America. China decided to punish their people to get involved in tariffs and put tariffs on Canada. And let's not forget, Mexico decided to punish their people and up tariffs on America. It's kind of a tariff war going on, but that's outside the box of what we're talking about. When you sit there and say that everybody's just punishing their own people to tariff each other, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense, now does it? Now you take that, put it on a shelf and go into part 2 of that, and you look at what tariffs were originally designed to do. Tariffs are used to incentivize overseas companies to make their products in the U.S., therefore creating U.S. jobs. You hit them where it's competitive, because if you're tariffing them, they got to raise their price, making anything made in America the better deal. Okay? That's why Made in America back in the 80s was great and why it faded away. Because we let a lot of jobs go overseas. That's the fine line of it. Now, why did we do that? Why are so many jobs overseas? Because people in power put America last. Now, every other country put America last and put their own country first. Were they right to do so, to put their country first? Absolutely. Absolutely. But America is not wrong. Trump is not wrong for wanting to do the same thing. Put America first. Because you can't have it wrong over here and right over here. That makes no sense. Okay? Then we talk about, like, for example, Canada puts a 270% tariff on milk. It might be 270 something, but it's above 270%, I know that, on milk that we ship to Canada. That's just one example of many tariffs that Canada has put on us. Not recently. These have been there. Tariffs have always been there. Tariffs have been there, back for a long time. Let's put it that way. Longer than I've been around. Okay? The problem is the stuff that America sends to them is tariff at these higher tariff percentages, whatever. But America doesn't tariff companies coming in, sending their products into America as much. We're dead last. And that really creates a problem. And again, that's why Made in America faded out because no one fought to keep the jobs here in America. No one fought to incentivize for jobs to stay here, keep the jobs, but our population's growing, right? And not everybody's going to get a college degree, and there's a lot of people getting college degrees that's not finding jobs. Prime example I use is a tech school in one city or whatever that will produce over 200 graduates a year for a type of job that hires maybe in the 50% range, 50 jobs of it, maybe 50% making 100 jobs, maybe, but they're always putting more people out there into the market than the market is hiring for. So that's people without jobs. So that's something to think about. And I've liked this so far, and I hope you have too. So, with all that said between those two topics, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? I'd love to hear from you on X, formerly known as Twitter. Links in the description and on the profile. You can also find me on TikTok. Also, link in the description and on the profile. Look forward to hearing from you. God bless.